The Sims 4 had a pretty tragic launch compared to the other Sims games. Many of you will already know that EA originally intended to have an online multiplayer Sims experience that was due to be released after The Sims 3, which was codenamed Project Olympus. But due to some online controversies back then with SimCity, which was being released at a time just before The Sims Online was supposed to be released, and that game flopped, EA panicked and they had roughly 1 year to convert this Project Olympus Sims Online experience into The Sims 4, which as a result, The Sims 4 released in a pretty crap state with pretty crap features, and even 10 years on now, they're still playing catch up in order to bring The Sims 4 up to par to The Sims 3, and even then, it's still significantly more primitive than The Sims 3 in pretty much every single major way. Other than graphics, The Sims 4 is a prettier game, I'll give it that. And it's this terrible start that's left The Sims 4 to a slow and you might say excruciating decay over time. I made a video before discussing the concept of software rot, and short story shorter, the more you add to a code over time, the more it degenerates and becomes a bit of a jumbled mess, which in turn makes it harder to fix things and can cause unexpected bugs and issues, which is something that's evidently happening with The Sims 4. Is it something that's fixable? Earlier in 2024, EA did set up a special team in the Sims team that was solely dedicated on fixing major bugs, and off the top of my head, I believe it was promised to be every other month. I can't remember. I often get comments from people telling me, Satch, my Sims 4 game is totally fine. I don't know why you experience all these bugs and glitches. But the difference is I own every single pack, and I know most of you guys don't. You typically own 1 or 2 packs, which I'm not saying to brag, by the way. Why I'm saying this is there are many different features in all these Sims 4 packs, all of which interact with the same base game features, but in slightly different ways. When you have so many packs integrating with the same thing, but in different ways, that's where you get a lot of conflicts and issues, which is why players who typically have more packs experience these issues more than players who own little to no packs. There is virtually an infinite number of possible different pack combinations a person can have. I can't be asked to work out the exact calculation, but considering there's a virtually infinite number of combinations, that means there's a virtually infinite number of ways packs could conflict with each other. As a result, although we see major bugs that affect every player getting fixed, because we do all have different combinations of packs, a lot of the smaller ones get missed, but then they add up over time, adding up to the overall mess that is The Sims 4. And an important layer to add to this is the fact that many Sims 4 patch updates actually break the game more. It's as if they take 1 step forward and 2 steps back, because one fix might break 2 other things, for example, leading to an indefinite technical debt that I don't think The Sims 4 is capable of getting out of. So this is the first and one of the core reasons why The Sims 4 will probably never get better, because however hard they try to make it better, it often just gets a bit worse. But in terms of The Sims as a whole, not just The Sims 4, the priorities of EA in terms of shareholders first, consumers after, also clearly plays a big role in why I think The Sims won't get better. It doesn't really take a genius to see that EA does make decisions based on shareholder needs rather than consumer needs, like how they announce exciting brand new Sims experiences and features in their Investor Day event, but concealed a lot of this news from the actual player base outside of the investor event. Thank God somebody streamed this and leaked it online, otherwise we wouldn't have known. And this really shines through on how The Sims 4 has developed and changed over the years. With a clear emphasis on monetization over pack quality, The Sims 4 sells packs regardless of quality. And I know this because you guys leave me comments all the time admitting to me that you buy all the packs not because you enjoy the pack themes and features, but because you feel left out if you don't own all of the packs. These are your words, quite literally, not mine. And EA obviously knows this, which is why they're so clearly comfortable releasing broken packs. The Sims 4 Dine Out, for example, which has an incredibly poorly implemented restaurant system. It's almost impossible to have just a normal dining experience. In fact, I've never experienced it with this pack. The Sims 4 My Wedding Stories released broken and very buggy wedding events, which pretty much don't work at all. They recently released funeral events in the Life and Death expansion pack, which work a lot better, and seeming that they're events which work in a similar way to the wedding events, they clearly are capable of making events work, but they seem to have absolutely no motivation to fix the wedding events to make them function as decently as the funeral events. The Sims 4 For Rent, a pack about becoming a landlord, but the actual ability to get paid as a landlord is either broken or very poorly implemented, or both, because I have no idea to this day, as a professional Sims YouTuber, how you're actually supposed to get paid as a landlord with this pack, and I've tried. The Sims 4 Love Struck, a pack which introduces tons of romantic features such as dating and relationship dynamics. In my opinion, this pack actually makes dating and relationships even worse, even more conflicted in terms of features, a little bit more buggy, a little bit more poorly implemented. The Sims 4 has one of the most critical video game audiences out of pretty much all major video games, and it's no wonder why. It's very clear that packs are made to be marketable and sell rather than provide a good player experience. This isn't obviously a unique issue to EA or The Sims. Pretty much every major video game publisher is doing this. Consumers are clearly not put first, which is bizarre because, funnily enough, if you make a game that's actually fun, players will buy the game. Making money is actually a direct consequence of making a good game. Who would have thought? This is something that was articulated very well by Sven Vink, a lead developer of Baldur's Gate 3, an incredibly successful game at the Game Awards.
Studio made their game because they wanted to make a game that they wanted to play themselves. They created it because it hadn't been created before. They didn't make it to increase market share. They didn't make it to serve as a brand. They didn't have to meet arbitrary sales targets or fear being laid off if it didn't meet those targets. The people in charge forbade them from cramming the game with anything whose only purpose was to increase revenue and didn't serve the game design. They didn't treat their developers like numbers on a spreadsheet. They didn't treat their players as users to exploit. And they didn't make decisions they knew were short-sighted and function of a bonus or politics. They knew that if you put the game and the team first, the revenue will follow. They were driven by idealism and wanted players to have fun. They understood the value of respect, that if they treated their developers and players well, those same developers and players would forgive them when things didn't go as planned. But above all, they cared about their game because they loved games.
Who would have thought investing in players and what they want creates a popular, profitable game? Putting players first generates both player satisfaction and high profit, something that EA doesn't appear to understand with The Sims. Profit and player experience are not on opposite ends of the spectrum. You can certainly have both, and I think this is relevant to discuss in relation to Project Rene, the upcoming Sims experience, which originally we all thought was going to be The Sims 5, and then it turned out that it's not The Sims 5, it's going to be some kind of multiplayer add-on experience to The Sims 4, which is now a part of The Sims Hub, which is a part of the wider Sims universe. These terms are a little bit confusing, but fundamentally, it seems to be that Project Rene will likely be a multiplayer experience added on as not an expansion pack, but maybe just like a side game next to The Sims 4 that will involve communicating with other players together. Although we have no idea what this experience is going to be yet. We have had leaks, and unfortunately, it absolutely reeks of microtransactions first, player experience later. The monetization of Project Rene is not confirmed, but we have had job listings posted on the EA jobs site where they've given a little bit of information about monetization and suggested that there would be a player marketplace. And based on leaked screenshots of early development of Project Rene, the interface very clearly looks like one of those freemium mobile app games, especially considering that Project Rene was labeled as free to download. I'm beyond reasonable doubt that there are going to be microtransactions, potentially an in-game currency directly related to an in-game marketplace. We also know they're going to be separating pack concepts even further than they have done in The Sims 4. Weather might be coming to the base game of Project Rene instead of being upsold as a seasons pack, but we were told, for example, that they may include a winter activities pack.
Now in Project Rene, we might introduce basic weather to the core game for free for everybody. And then a pack for purchase might be focused on winter sports and could include activities like ice dancing or a snowman building competition. So building this way means that down the line, we could use wind or rain or clouds for other pack themes as well.
So we may get snow in the base game of Project Rene, but you'd have to buy a separate pack for winter activities. And if that's the case for winter activities, they will likely do the same thing with summer activities, spring activities, autumn activities. So what was once just one seasons pack, it seems like they're keen to potentially turn this into a 4-pack situation. If one Sims 4 pack hypothetically is $30 and Project Rene packs at the same price, hypothetically of course, that would be $120 just for a season's experience. Obviously this is purely hypothetical, but I'm working with the information that we've already received, whether that be officially or through leaks. And based on this information that we've received, one can only reasonably assume that it's monetization first, player satisfaction later. In fact, based on all Project Rene leaks, I haven't really found anything that seems to suggest they are innovating on the Sims experience in any meaningful way that makes it more fun, other than the potential of multiplayer, but then we don't know what that is at this stage. Is it all doom and gloom for live simulation gaming fans? Although The Sims may never potentially get better, the live simulation gaming genre could get better thanks to various other publishers developing live simulation games. Inzoi, by the developers of PUBG, interestingly appears promising. It looks like the love child of GTA and The Sims put together to create a really ambitious live sim experience. I've seen a few interviews with the lead developer of Inzoi, and it appears he's extremely enthusiastic about live simulation gaming, and it leaves me feeling quite hopeful for the release of the game. I played the character creator demo a few months ago, and it really blew me away. It's so obvious this game is being developed with passion and subsequently has innovated in so many ways The Sims could only dream of. Although this game is by Krafton, who make PUBG, which is renowned for being a little bit cash grabby. So I do think we have to take Inzoi with a pinch of salt, but it seems to be quite promising. The most anticipated live sim game for me personally is Paralives, which is a fully independent indie game relying only on Patreon backers. And in the wider Sims community, Paralives is the one that I think people are most consistently excited for due to its creative innovations to the live simulation gaming genre, as well as its just cozy back to basics vibes, which I think people are really attached to. And interestingly, Paralives is set to have no paid DLC, no packs, only free expansions and updates to the game. Isn't it funny how the one game that people are most consistently excited about is the one that seems to be putting players first? What a coincidence. And this is clearly evident by the amount of Patreon backers that Paralives has. Although I think it's important to express, I don't think The Sims is going anywhere. I don't think it's dying. I mean, in terms of player satisfaction and gameplay experience, I think it is. But in terms of player numbers and profits, I think it's very much alive. But I think one of the core reasons as to why it's alive is because it's had a monopoly over the live sim genre for years. The Sims 4 is the only proper live sim game. There are obviously other live sim games like Animal Crossing, but it's not the same. The Sims 4 is the only real life live simulation game and always has been the only one. It's built up that branding over time, so I don't think it will go anywhere. But once players get a taste of something sweeter, they will undoubtedly jump ship. No video game is invincible, including The Sims. SimCity, also by Maxis, was considered quite invincible, the most popular city building game, and then people jumped ship to City Skylines because it was simply much better, and SimCity died and they haven't released a SimCity game ever since, apart from the mobile game, which doesn't really count. Interestingly, City Skylines also kind of died died because City Skylines 2 very clearly put shareholders first, player experience later, which is a whole nother story. Outside of The Sims, I really like Overwatch, but then Marvel Rivals came out recently and I haven't touched Overwatch ever since, simply because I think Marvel Rivals is a lot better, and I know many other people who feel the same, evident by the fact that Overwatch's player count is decreasing whilst Marvel Rivals is increasing. What I'm getting at is no video game is invincible and players are more than willing to jump ship, and this includes The Sims. I often get labelled as the biggest Sims hater in the Sims community. I'm the most hated on Sims YouTuber because I highlight the problems with The Sims 4. I critique the way EA handles The Sims, not out of a place of being toxic, but out of a place of love for The Sims. I've played it ever since I was a child. I played every single Sims game. I remember, you know, when I was a kid before school, I'd wake up extra early so that I could play The Sims 2 and 3 on my computer before school. I was that addicted. I loved the whole Sims thing ever since I was a kid. I really don't want The Sims to die. I want it to flourish. I want it to do great. I want to see the passion that we had in The Sims 3. Packs that actually felt worthwhile, large, fun experiences. The Sims team once had the capacity to release great player experiences, and there's no reason why they can't do it again. It all just depends on their priorities. Who are they putting first? Because that, I think, will dictate how The Sims will go in the future. And given EA's reputation, the future's looking a little bit bleak. But I do think there's a small chance it could be redeemable. We just have to wait and see. If you're curious about my video that I mentioned before on software rot and how The Sims 4 is degrading a little bit over time, feel free to watch this video here. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I will see you in the next one.